What is going on, everybody? Great morning. Happy Monday. What a joy and a pleasure to be here with you all once again. I love the music. I love the music. This weekend I was watching some of our videos with my daughter and she's like, "Dad, the music's really long in the beginning." Dad, I was like, "You just don't get it. You just don't get one day you will understand. One day you will understand." I absolutely love it. It brings me home with all of you. It does bring back all the wonderful memories we shared. It brings back the essence of the group. Let's get into it this morning. Over here, Bitcoin, $48,000. What do I think happens next? You can see Bitcoin over here dropping, making lower highs on the daily and lower lows, right? That's not bullish. It's bullish that it continues to consolidate. But check out the angle of consolidation. This time it's upwards. Look at that. Notice that consolidation upwards about 1 week. This is more or less 1 week now here. The last time we pointed it out was early last week. I came over to you the last time we had a breakout on Bitcoin. I said what happened next was that we consolidated for a week. A little bit different though. Instead of that upwards slightly upwards channel consolidation, this one was the one that we're accustomed to. This one had that downward sloping at a very slight angle, by the way. Very slight angle, but it was just showing that trend line that we're always looking there for the consolidation and then the break as we tracked over here. This is entirely bullish if it breaks out to the upside, perhaps even more bullish. Watch out what happens. Nevertheless, that's just all noise. That's all just fluctuation, right? When it counted, forget the move from 19,000 to 40,000, right? At 40,000, what happens next? Do we go vertical? And if we do, what happens? Or do we have the 30% pullback, 30% pullback? This is where you buy. There's a big tweet over there saying this is your chance. If you wanted Bitcoin under 20,000 and missed it, it just dipped below $30,000 on a 30% pullback. That wound up being the low. I had no idea that would be the low at the time. I just knew that it was time to be looking to lean in if you hadn't already. Could we have went down lower? Of course. I was ready for it. I was ready for it if it would have happened. And you have to be. Were a lot of people liquidated? Were a lot of people liquidated in the last 24 hours? I don't think so. I mean, it's possible if they were liquidated, then they just, they need to watch the video that we did together 3 weeks ago in the training session, Bitcoin lightly leveraged. There's no way that anyone should become close to being liquidated on such a small move on Bitcoin. I don't even know what we went down. Did we go down like 5% or something from the all-time high? I mean, 8%. That's nothing. And if you are getting liquidated on moves like that, you really have to plan what you're doing and understand why you're doing and how to do it. Because right now, as Bitcoin continues to rise over here, by the way, we set this up so long ago. We started October 2019 is when we went live. This whole area over here, the Bitcoin playlist started being created. The videos talking about the 4-year cycle, preparing you for the halving event, setting this trade up for a while. It's not like we're just joining the ride over here, riding the bull of all bulls and trying to put our 2 cents into it. We have a pretty good feel for what's going on. What are we looking at next? What are we looking at? Someone asked over the weekend, by the way, Jordan, Monday, could you blow up the chart with the diagonal resistance lines for Bitcoin? I would like to take a screenshot, right? So I could do it on my own chart. You don't have to do that. If you go over to the Bitcoin playlist, if you go to the Bitcoin log charts and in the description, you could see those charts over there, the links for them, whether it was Patrick's, Will's zoomed in, which looks exactly like this over here. Will zoomed in. You could get all of them and find the links for yourself, and then you could draw them on your own charts using these chart links over here. I think that should be more than helpful for getting you going over there. Remember this video. Do you remember this video? This was on February the 4th on silver. Where was silver trading, by the way? Just if anyone is not really up to par, like what happens next? I'll let you guys answer that in the comment. Everyone should have the pulse of Bitcoin more than anywhere else I've looked around or seen on the internet. I know that we have the pulse of Bitcoin, and it's just beautiful right here. Watching price at 48,000. Remember 38,000? That was 38,000 felt good for everybody. Anything above, that's just everything. Here we are. All right, let's take a look at silver this morning. The reason I want to jump over to silver over here is for everyone to be aware what's going on, especially if you are invested in SLV. Now, I was saying a couple of weeks ago, watch out for SLV, right? PSLV, physical silver, much better. That's, I believe, Mike Maloney's ETF on silver. But do your own research. If you're investing in silver, understand why. I was pretty good also around this time, though. Hold on one second. Just let me play the. So that's silver. Silver's at a very super important juncture over here. What's going on? And that was silver. That was silver coming into 26 over here as silver was jumping down. Remember, Wall Street Bets is not involved in silver. Everyone get out of silver. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? This technically looks beautiful. We've had the breakout we've been watching and waiting for. Then we just came into resistance, pull back for the retest on the 8-hour. This is the entry right over here, right on this video. This is February 4th. What do I think happens next on silver? We've bounced off there. Was that the perfect entry? The resumption off here. We're into resistance right now at 27.64. Why I bring this to your attention this morning, GATA has done absolutely phenomenal research forever, since I can remember, on the manipulation of gold. Right? They're saying, look, watch out. Just be aware, SLV changed their prospectus. Look at some of the things they said, like the demand for silver may temporarily exceed available supply. Look at some of the other things they said over here, right? The demand for silver may temporarily exceed available supply. This may adversely affect an investment in the shares. I don't know what that means. They go on to say, by the way, a sudden increase in demand for shares that exceeds supply may result in price volatility. It could go both ways. I'm trying to look for where else they said it over here, right? Hold on one second. The trading price of the shares has recently been and could be and continue to be volatile. Why would it be volatile? What's going on? What's the risk? They're letting you know. Listen, the physical price of silver could easily, decouplate from the price of SLV here if SLV doesn't have the silver to back it up. Then all of a sudden there could be a problem. Silver could be trading above $50 and SLV could plummet. So be very careful, do your own research, but be aware of what's going on here, because we're dealing with a new possible market dynamic over here, and that's insolvencies coming from multiple areas. I'm not looking for the Raoul Paul like corporation insolvency event, or anything like that, but just anyway, let's move on. The markets over here, S&P continues to print new all-time highs over here. Nasdaq with it, right? Russell just slightly behind. And the Dow, what? New all-time highs. I want to go back today, I think, and I want to go find for you over here. Over here, it was somewhere around the middle of April. And I was like, look, I don't know what happens next on the markets. This was coming off the crisis, right? This was coming off the crisis in March. And I said, I don't know what happens next. Either the S&P could trade to 4,100 or it could test down back towards 23. I'm going to find Andreas knows it. He's the one who pointed out to me in the YouTube comments months ago, right? There we are, right? People might have thought I was crazy. Here we are, not too long ago. By the way, just so that we're all clear, this is fine and this was great, crushing this. And this was one of the best trades of 2020. As was this, the rebound. I just have to say, it was a huge mistake on my part, because as it was, my S&P trades were all done on Bitcoin. My S&P trades were all done on Bitcoin, and if I would have held I thought, by the way, I hadn't traded the S&P in probably a decade. I saw what was happening, and I just went, multiple heavily short trades over here. This was fantastic. Then actually several entries to catch the bottom over here. And I thought I was a hero, but I didn't know what happened next. So actually it's not a mistake. I didn't know what happened next. I didn't know if we were going to come back down and test 23. And I didn't know if we were going to, just shoot the moon as it happened, right? So why I say it wasn't a mistake was because this amount of S&P points that had been taken just off the bottom over here, that's more than more people make in many years, right? So I guess it's not a mistake, but I wish I would have had the foresight, and that's why I'm talking about this right now. I'm kind of just reprogramming. 242 likes. We must have like 300 people in here 1,200 people in here this morning. And if you hear if you're a regular, smash that like button, get me going, get this seen by other people. Let's get ready. It's Monday. Let's get ready to make this a great week ahead. By the way, so let me keep going over here because I'm reprogramming my brain over here. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know literally if we were going to come back down and test this area of supply over here, or if the Fed's QE was just going to continue to send us towards 41. Right? Am I going to reevaluate at 41? I really don't care right now about the equity markets. You all know that. So that's really doesn't matter. Had I pushed this trade, it would have been something more than special. And I just want to just kind of reinforce that in my mind over here. Another one that I want to reinforce this morning is what's happening over here on Palladium, because this was probably what I consider to be one of my biggest errors in 2020. Right? So we've been tracking all this consolidation over here, expansion, right? This is the error down over here. I'll talk about that in 1 second. This is a chart of platinum though. You can see platinum is up, let's say in the past, well, let's use since January. Down here, bottom out. So it's about, it's almost 30%. 30% in 5 weeks. That's a good move, right? Nevertheless, I'm not trying to catch that particular 30% move or, either which way. What I'm trying to focus in on over here is this consolidation, right? We knew that this was a strong uptrend, consolidating, right? And then watch how it just snapped out of the consolidation, expansion. Markets go from expansion to consolidation to expansion to consolidation. They tend to consolidate much longer than they expand. The expansion phase is more rapid. But look at that happening over here. This is where I made my mistake, where I was tracking this channel with you for quite a while, right? For this bull flag, this downward sloping channel over here. As we came towards the area of support in this area, this whole area over here, right? I should have been looking to lean into the trade. I should have really had a much better awareness of what was going on and understanding that was the place to take the opportunity. I'm just taking a second here to kind of let that sink in, and I have other times with you, because when this is developing not on platinum, but on an asset that I'm actually interested in trading, I want to make sure that my brain is recognizing that subconsciously, right? And that I'm there to act and take advantage of that, right? As we just saw on gold over here, that was the circle that we call. Is gold the ass? I've been very clear, and I'm usually, I am very consistent on my message and my signaling over a long period of time, right? And gold is just not what I believe is the trade right now. Obviously, it's Bitcoin. Below that, silver, I expect to have a spectacular year. Nevertheless, maybe a small speculative position is more than enough. Better if that could be done in Bitcoin as the base account until Bitcoin peaks, right? So if you're looking for but nothing's, anyway, Bitcoin's the trade. Nevertheless, I continue to track gold. Gold continues to consolidate over here in this massive. What's the biggest signal that's happening, right? What's the biggest signal that's happening, and that which includes the amount of QE coming globally each month in 2021? It's just the systematic devaluation of fiat, right? That's the one thing that everyone has to be able to agree on. There are some people who literally argue over inflation. I will never understand that. If you're missing inflation, then you must not do, you're missing everything. I can't even have a conversation with someone who can't start off the same rock foundation that we're experiencing massive inflation have been for a long time. Nevertheless, look, the one signal that I think we could all agree on is that we're going to see continued devaluation of fiat. Right now, if you're going to argue about which is the better play, is Bitcoin better than gold? Well, at this point, gold has a much greater market cap. Gold is actually held by central banks. Now, if you're a Bitcoiner, and these guys are intellectual giants, right, who 10 years ago game played that corporations and institutions were going to be forced into buying Bitcoin, and then later nation states, including central banks, well, yeah, but that's not happening right now. I'm focused on what's happening right now during these next several months. That's this phase. And by the way, why I was always clear in the first quarter of 2021, the correlations between Bitcoin and everything else were really going to break. I said after that, they're going to get crazy, right? And we're not towards this phase yet. You see this vertical phase? We're not there yet. Will we be there? Yeah, we're going to be there soon enough, right? That's what we're all preparing for. So, what case am I making about gold? About gold. Even though I am entirely bullish on gold, I believe owning gold is very important in case it's ever repriced. Understanding, going back to GATA, that it is the most heavily manipulated instrument in the world, right? Eventually, it won't be. And when it's not, I'm telling you, you're going to want to own some, regardless of what you think of Bitcoin or not. Now, fast forward 4.5 years. Fast forward 4.5 years as Bitcoin's overtaking the market cap of gold. That might change, and that could be a drastic change. Like maybe, I don't know, do you still own gold? And if you do, is it really because it's just shiny at that point? I don't know. That's a conversation for way down the future, right? But if you didn't see the video on where I'm exiting in last week's CTM live training session last Thursday, that is a must watch along with Bitcoin lightly leveraged. Where are we moving forward? Bitcoin 47,800. Watching it consolidate over here. What could happen next, by the way? Listen, whether or not we continue this move that is taking us towards 70,000, coming off that last 30% pullback, that trend line we were tracking, that breakout, or we come back down and towards this. I'm going to highlight this trend line for 1 second with you, just so you could see. Like, if we come back into this trend line, watch for a bounce off that trend line. I think that's coming in right now somewhere around 45. Could we go straight down? Doesn't look like the price is doing that. Somewhere around 43, taking out those stops over here, and then perhaps finding some support and bouncing up. Any move into this trend line at this point, a resumption off, this seems like a good swing entry on Bitcoin. Everyone should be well positioned and holding very well. What else? What's going on with Ethereum? Let's check it out. Let me clean this up first really quick and make sure that looks pretty for me. Ethereum May target 70,000. So I have to think. I mean, we're in February, right? So yeah. So I said within 60 days while we were in this breakout over here, right? While we broke out over here, I said it should be within 60 days. I think that was being generous. That's my target on 70,000. I think it happens within the next 60 days of breaking out. How many days have we passed since? Just about a week or so, right? June, 100,000. The end of June, 100,000. That's the tweet that I put out. By the end of June, 100,000. For whatever it's worth, I don't know. I've been pretty accurate, right? So Ethereum. But just because I say something or you hear me mention something, like, don't go act on that at all. Not financial advice. If you do that, you're going to get wrecked. There's no question about that. But if you spend the time in here, by the way, Jordan, this message is important. A retired senior on fixed income. I became alarmed last March during the crisis as saw interest rates plummet. I realized that I had to find a different approach to investing, or my wife and I would need to move out of our home in the future. This is serious stuff. I stumbled across Bitcoin, had no idea what it was. I then combed through the internet for hours on end and researching articles related to Bitcoin. I then came across your channel and very quickly realized you were far more educational. The value offered here is enormous, and it's all free, rather than anyone else, and have been watching daily since last April. A big hug. And that's why the music is so important in the beginning, right? And it's so many people for so long who are with us each and every day, because the education I'm learning after 20 years doing, I'm learning every single day. And if you're here since April, I know you are as well. Your guidance, along with all the countless hours of research into the understanding of Bitcoin I put in. You have to do the work. You have to understand Bitcoin. Here and there, a good podcast, or by the way, speaking of good podcast, this one over here on the Orange Pill with Preston Fish, awesome. Do watch this podcast, Orange Pilled with Preston Fish. Good one, really good one. Back to this over here. Boom. no doubt change our lives. Boom, 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 boom. I believe Bitcoin will change the world and hopefully bring peace on earth. I believe that too. I want to see read Jimmy Song's book about Bitcoin being fair and just. Luck is defined as being in the position to take advantage of an opportunity when it comes. Thank you, Jordan, for the education. And thank each and every one of you who make this community possible to provide that education for everyone and all of us. What's going on, everyone? It's Monday. We're about 24 minutes in, 5 minutes to the equity markets up. Equity markets looking bid once again at all-time highs. They are not crashing. They are not crashing. Thank you over there. Smash the lock button, right? That's all good, Manuel, because it is over here. It is quality over quantity. It's always been. Over here, Ethereum looking very bullish over here. Ethereum getting set to rock against Bitcoin. We'll check out Ethereum, Bitcoin next. I'm not going to say much, except that Ethereum's trading at $1,800, and it's just off the all-time high. It's into price discovery right now. Ethereum, Bitcoin over here. It never hit my accumulation circle, so I'm going to delete that, right? Never hit it. What did happen, though, and you could just track this over here, is there's the trend line we were tracking over there, right? Breakout, retest. It's resuming off right now. It's resuming off right now. Entirely bullish, right? You know where your stop loss is if you're acting on this. In this case, you have to have a very tight stop loss, right? What type of pullback was that? I'm interested in knowing for the future. Was that 38? 22. That's not a bad pullback at all, right? That's not steep at all. Against alt, so we're going to see something different. I want to just get familiarized, see what's going on. This is Aave Bitcoin, right? Now, if someone was doing this, I wasn't at all. I'm not even tracking this. If someone was doing this, though, on the way down and had their accumulation circle over there, that's a clear fill. This is what everyone is tracking over here, right? Getting ready for that breakout over there. When alts possibly start moving against Bitcoin, Bitcoin is looking hot right now in the fact that it's consolidating here right below all-time high, right? And in this beautiful little orderly channel over there. If it breaks to the upside, we saw many instances in the past few months of this type of pattern breaking out to the upside. Maybe we'll see a few of them as we get into FX in a little bit, right? But we saw this happen over the last few months. And when they broke out to the upside, they were extremely bullish. So be aware. That's obviously my base case for what's unfolding over here. Be watching a move into this trend line. That also, a resumption off there. That's also quite bullish over there. Breaking that trend line, I mean, then maybe we're coming in for, a test towards 4,000 or something like 37,000, right? That's if we break that. If we break that, I will be updating you. So right now, everyone's on autopilot. Everyone's on autopilot. David, like no spamming, It's all good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bitcoin's never closed. That's a great point. Oh, excuse me, right? So I said 5 minutes to the markets open. The markets are closed today, right? I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, how sad that the equity markets close. Just like it's 2021. How incredibly sad that this little rigged market, and that's what the equity markets are. They're little and they're rigged. How sad that this little rigged market closes on a Monday because it's a holiday, right? Why? Markets should be open 24 hours a day, don't you think? Either which way, I do. That's what new money thinks, at least. When I say new money, I'm talking about cryptocurrency. Always new blocks are being produced. That's just the way it is. So what does that mean for equity market? I mean, nothing. But as long as I caught myself over there. I don't look at Bitcoin dominance, as you all know, ever. And it's clear that serves me well, whether it's for really understanding the pulse of Bitcoin or when alts would pump and how. And I got that timing down pretty accurate, well in advance, over a year in advance. So I know a lot of people out there are consulting Bitcoin dominance, but for me, that's like consulting the VIX. There's no need. I don't do that at all or ever. That's just me though. But I have to go with what works. Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And speaking of which, if you just joined us, I'm so glad that you did join. CTM. Look, you have to start following everything that's presented into your order. In the getting started, the best practice is going through all the course modules. After you go through all the course modules, that's when the course really begins. You receive an email and instructions on that. You have to watch the training videos. We have over a year of weekly training sessions. They are extraordinarily invaluable resources. And I've said that over and over again before the last three. Before we did Bitcoin lightly leveraged, before we did pushing your winners, and before we did my exit plans for Bitcoin. I don't know what to say now. I mean, those three alone are special, are extraordinary. But you have the whole library there as well. Yeah, thank you, Truth Capital. Big shout out. Thank you for that. Great day to be fully positioned in the Bitcoin. Great to see your comments over there. They need they need rest after a long weekend of rigging. Yeah, and that's the one thing I love about the Wall Street bets about GameStop was that it's shown or that the millennials, I'm gonna label them as the millennials, are onto their game. Right? The millennials understand the game. It's a new game. We know the game is rigged. Like we're taking the playing field and we're moving it to decentralization. And if you look at the altcoins that we track on our list, a large portion of them, not all of them, not Binance, right? But Binance is a good utility. Not all of them, right? You look at Cardano, that's a protocol, right? By the way, is Cardano decentralized? I know we know Ethereum is not decentralized, but is Cardano decentralized? I don't know. But a lot of the projects we are, because that's the future. It's just far away. It's just far away. Maybe within 4 years from now, as we're in the bull market phase of the next cycle, at that point, I think that there'll be. Can you imagine the advances that will be made in the next 4 years in the DeFi sector? Will sushi be around? Do you think sushi will be around 4 years from now? I don't know. But the ones that are going to be gigantic, and they're going to be monsters, and they're going to be changing the world. That's for sure. So it's not decentralized. Okay, so it will be. They have plans to decentralize it soon. Is that on the launch, Patrick? Is that on the launch to the mainnet? That's interesting. I would like to know more about it, but from afar. And XLM is, by the way, only on this list. XLM's not on this list. Monero is only on this list just to track. I would not invest in Monero. All right. So XLM, I have some close friends in XLM. Let me just pull it up. And I know they're trading on Coinbase. It's interesting to note that over here, you see XRP pump at the same time as XLM pumped. Then you had that next pump over here, which is in the first week of January, and XRP did not pump as XLM did. They had been tightly correlated. This is when they broke on this pump over here, and then look what happened. You guys could do it yourself. Then you had a big consolidation. We always say don't buy on those spikes. Here's that consolidation. Let me make this a little bit brighter. This is, by the way, what the chart you're looking at now, and it's really interesting on crypto, especially at this phase in the cycle, the moves on cryptos, they take place a lot quicker than on other instruments, right? Now, if you're in FX on the 8-hour time frame, things it's a lot slower how things play out, right? Same thing with stocks, even slower, gaps in between, terrible, absolutely horrific. But with crypto, these moves play out a little quicker. So you're seeing this long consolidation over here, breakout, retest, resumption, and now you're back to consolidation over here on XLM, right? You should be able to track it. You should be able to see it. What else? I wanted to look through a few crosses over here first before we do. Just checking out, getting a feel for what's going on with alts. And I just see big consolidation here. You have to be careful. I think a lot of people actually that are trading alts, especially versus Bitcoin, as I'm looking at the later part of the bull phase over here, as we're looking at the last 30 days, going into those last 30 days, I think you're going to see Bitcoin completely melting faces of these altcoins. So be careful when you're trading alts versus Bitcoin, right? If you look at, let me just show you on Ethereum, Bitcoin, it happens on across the board. Let me go to the daily time frame. Let me go to the peak over here. This is the last 30 days. And do you see, it's not only Ethereum, it's whether you pull up XRP, whether you pull up Litecoin, whether you pull up Cardano, here's Cardano at the same exact moment over there. There's that 30-day window, and it's melting Bitcoin off. Prior to that, Bitcoin was melting the face off of every altcoin except I think Litecoin. Except Litecoin, Bitcoin was melting, and when I say every, I mean the vast majority. But here you could see it, this move over here. This is Bitcoin, a slow grind against all altcoins, and that's going on for quite a while. It's going on for about 4 months or so, at least. And then you saw the alt bull, anyway, you all know what I mean. But it happened over here the last 30 days when alts just ripped face, right? You saw some tremendous gains all coming in that window over here. Bitcoin tops first, but before Bitcoin tops, you see alts making their run. Is that a sign, by the way? Could that be a timing signal for us to really consult coming in to when we're looking for that peak of Bitcoin, when we're going vertical? Once we start understanding that for quite a while, for a few months or more, Bitcoin should be really, really outperforming alts. And it makes sense, right? But then once you see alts kind of bottoming against Bitcoin and turning around, could that be close to the exact cycle peak? I don't know. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to be watching all these things together, trying to figure out the best. I don't know. Just talking about what I think is interesting. Just talking about what I think is interesting. Hope it is for you. Yeah, that's good. Always good to add. That's not the only thing, right, brother? Kips, your COVID face. I think Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin's been melting your face off for a while, right? Anyone who missed Bitcoin, I've done my best. I have done my best consistently, strongly, and a lot, but that's very far and few between. I've missed that. That's for sure. What next? What next? There's a lot I want to get into. I want to get into all of FX. I get caught off on some tangents when things get really interesting to me. If you could understand in that moment when I'm explaining that type of stuff to you, what my brain is doing and what it's taking in, that's I'm just completely kind of I don't know if you would say plugged in or unplugged, but either which way, it's beautiful. Let's take a look what's going on. So what are alts doing? Let me tie that up for myself. What alts are doing right now, why Bitcoin is running here. Ethereum is lockstep with Bitcoin. Alts have pulled back a little from Bitcoin, right? But you could see across the board, what we're seeing is that consolidation. So you could continue to watch and track that. Do I think that we're close to the period where Bitcoin will be melting the face off of alts, right? Man, just thinking about, wow. Anyway, I don't want to get into there. Nothing toxic. This is 2021. We got a lot to accomplish. We have a lot to accomplish. This is really sincerely each and every day. It's just really all about business, right? At this point, it's not about getting anyone and everyone positioned. At this point, it's making sure everyone is able to ride the bull of all bulls to accomplish their goals. By the way, 140,000, that's not even far off anymore. All goals accomplished, everything else, that's just completely gravy. Are we going to see Bitcoin print something like 300,000? Over here, we have a target, or in the thumbnail of this video, 270,000 Bitcoin, right? Are we going to see $300,000? And at that point, just to prepare you for a second right now, at that point, when we do see something like that, I don't care if it's 250, if it's 300,000, you're going to see everyone this is a super cycle, right? Institutions are here. This time is different, right? Listen, I'm going to be taking that exit at the top. I just want you to know right now, and the reason why I'm reiterating that is because it's going to be tough. If you don't think, or everyone here, I believes, everyone here, when you're having a 30% drawdown, right? It's not. Is it easy to see a massive amount of money that you're holding being drawn down 30%? I don't think so for anyone, right? It's never comfortable, but you're calm about it. It's the same thing as we come towards that cycle peak. It's just going to be just as hard psychologically for everyone because they're going to think that it's going to keep going up. Anyway. Yep, there seems to be, Stefan, there seems to be a lot of folks saying that. a lot of and what I'm getting at right now is you're going to see several months from now a lot more saying it. I can't find another that has been as accurate as we have. So therefore, I'm not listening to them. So Jordan, I think you're confusing. Let's take a look at Litecoin, BTC, just in that area, right? Just in that area. And yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I want to have things correct in my head. So this is Litecoin going back to 2017. Yeah, you're right. So you could see over here that Bitcoin was drastically eating up versus Bitcoin versus Litecoin until you have that window over there where Litecoin melted face. And then let's look at Litecoin US dollar in that same area. And then this will actually, what's going on over here? That's just, I can't even, it's 2017 over here. I'm sorry. Yeah. So Litecoin just really tracks Bitcoin though, right? I didn't look at what like Ethereum looked like in that window over there. I looked at Ethereum Bitcoin. So yeah, Ethereum was all, so if all coins were doing very well versus the dollar all season, right? Versus Bitcoin though, just understand 3 or 4 months going in towards that window of the 2 weeks before the cycle peak, Bitcoin was really wrecking havoc across the board. Very important because a lot of people are focused on the pairs, altcoin versus Bitcoin, which have been running right now. And it looks like they could continue. If you break out of this consolidation, they're going to continue. When should we get concerned? Would it be somewhere around June, right? June, July? Might that be, or as early as June? Yeah, when you start seeing Bitcoin just continuing that long, strong, consistent push, maybe. We'll keep checking it out. Silver we looked at very clearly this morning, even going back to the video where we pointed out the entry at 26.50 on silver, right? That was right over here. This is when I put out the video and I was basically like, no, everyone is wrong. This has nothing to do with Wall Street bets. Wall Street bets is kind of insignificant. These are a few small-time pikers, right? Well, but if they all work together, listen, GameStop had institutions on the long side as well, right? But, yeah, great. If we all work together, buy Bitcoin, change the world, right? If you want to change the world, buy Bitcoin, right? Is there a move that's taking place on silver? Does it warrant speculation? Yeah, there's some serious stuff happening on silver over here. And, I've trusted Gata ever since I've known about gold, right? So that's all I could say about that. And they have been very clear and ahead of the game in uncovering the manipulation that's going on over there. They're saying, look, SLV just changed their prospectus. They don't have the physical silver to back up the paper. Are we going to see silver listen, I've been talking about in 2021 could be the year of silver, right? Not only taking out, which already did, the March 2020 high, next taking out the $50 all-time high. Where we end up from that, do we trade at 100? I don't know. We'll see what happens. It doesn't really matter. Compared to Bitcoin, it's nothing. And that remains what we're focused in on over here. Should you take a small speculative position? Again, if you're doing that, I would really think about doing that in Bitcoin, right? So, where are we? Wall Street bets. But anyway, at that point on that video at that time, I was like, listen, it's very real what's happening in silver. And right now you have this breakout, this retest into an important level. If that level holds, that's the entry, 26.50, right? And that might have been probably one of the most, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and months. But silver over there looks beautiful. Watching pound Japanese yen over here continuing it's into some resistance right now, continuing its longer term trajectory, right? Targeting this trend line over there together over here at 154. What's going on into that resistance? Let's check out in the 8-hour time frame. Coming off a few, look, consolidation, expansion. Obviously, you don't buy into resistance coming off that expansion. The next thing to do is wait for some consolidation and or break above the resistance, right? Anyone should only be holding and pushing. And just to ingrain in your head, right? If you got into this trade when we started talking about it and why at the beginning of the year, right? If you're taking profits now, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. Pound US dollar also pushing. Yep. Look at that beautiful resistance, breakout, retest, resumption, conquering the markets all day long. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This is important. This is actually now I don't want to clear my list. Let me go ahead. The ones that I'm tracking. Hold on one second. Bear with me, please. Sorry about the silence. This is definitely green lit for going into tomorrow, by the way. And why I say that, I'm breaking above this important resistance, right? This is now going to be retested. If it holds as support, I resume off of it. This is definitely something to be looking at and watching, right? Very interested in that. What else does that mean? Are there other setups? I wanted to just jump over to the Australian dollar, US dollar. That now, if you were watching and involved in this trade, by the way, 2 weeks ago, we looked at this pair, how to push the winners, right? But this is the area on FX, on the Australian dollar, US dollar. That's 40% profit, right? Now holding a trade with your stop loss at break even, moving that up a level now at this point as 40% comes off, and you're pushing the other 60%, right? Conquering the markets all day long. Yeah, hard forky. Is that this over here when you check out which the green or anyway? I like doing what I do. Oh, anyway, let's keep going over here. Let me get focused in and dialed in. I shouldn't look at the comments when I'm trying to get dialed in. That's awesome, South Brooklyn. That's awesome. Yeah. So one of the most important things, I just want to focus in on FX. I want to get a real good read and feel for what's going on this morning as we get started on here on Monday, right? And in doing that, I just want to just kind of focus in since the new year, since January 1st, we've been talking and watching that strong and slow appreciation of the pound as it wasn't a quick volatile repricing, but it continues to be the strongest currency in my mind that I say. Japanese yen continues to be the weakest. Beyond that, we're looking at strength in the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Euro seems moderately weak. The euro seems moderately weak, and the dollar is basically going sideways. Let's take a look at the dollar real quick before we look at the euro US dollar. Let's take a look at the dollar. There we are. So into our resistance, by the way, beautiful analysis. First video of the new year on the 5th of January, showing you the DXY, showing you this channel over here, and then talking about how we could see a move back into that channel, which we've tested, resuming off. Here's the resumption down. Here's the Winthrop line, very helpful. But you could see that now that has held as resistance right over there, resuming down. This is sideways. The dollar is going sideways right now in a strong downtrend, right? If we break down over here, if we break down this, then we could see a big slide in 2021 on the dollar. If we trade above this trend line over here, above the 92.22 resistance, at that point, we'll be watching for a stronger move in the dollar, and we'll be looking at how high it possibly can go. But right now, we continue looking at a sideways, consolidating dollar that's in a strong downtrend. All right, euro US dollar. Let's check it out. So the euro has been weaker than most. Let's see how it's doing. Against the dollar over here, we see the Australian dollar, which we've been tracking, making new 12-week highs or close to it. It's just off new yearly highs. And why the euro is lagging a lot. You see the euro lagging a lot, right? So why the euro was a nice trade. This was a nice trade for us or for myself, right? In 2020, it happened quick, unfolded quick. We lined it up beautiful, great. Do you see the euro as the place to be looking to buy now? Don't get tied to something. If you made some good money on it at some point, move along. The market's always there, and there's always opportunity, right? But the euro right now is lagging. It's underperforming, not something that I want to look to attack with. I'm looking to attack strength. There's strength in the pound, right? There's strength in the Australian dollar and commodity currencies. Inflation. Oh, I don't see the inflation. But what's weak? Japanese yen continues to be weak. All right, just setting it all up. Let's see what else is out there. Euro, New Zealand dollar, not interesting. Why is it not interesting? I don't know. I'm seeing the Australian dollar outperforming the New Zealand dollar on a relative basis, and obviously the euro is just like moderately weak, but it's not weak like the yen is weak, right? Do I want to be involved in it? No, not at all. What else? I haven't checked in on the euro, British pound. Let's check out. This is right, like the trade that keeps giving, right? The trade that keeps giving. This is something that this is like we lined this one up beautifully. We tracked this one. We talked about the break of the line of last hope, right? And then since then, we've talked about, just more importantly, this is what I want everyone to focus in on. We've talked about how the euro, we've been watching it get more and more weaker. And we've been watching the pound get stronger and stronger, right? That's where you want to focus. You want to focus. That's why you do your analysis. That's why you have the pulse of the market. So you're able to find and see and be aware of the flow of the market and position around that. And then when you get yourself into a good trade, you are pushing that trade. Don't be in such a rush to take profits. Getting into profit is easy, right? Pushing your trades, that's the difference. That's the hard part. What else are we looking at? What else are we looking at? Just trying to catch up with a few comments. I don't really see it. I'm going to keep going over here. I want to take a look around and see if there's any setups over here. I'm going to go across everything. I'm going to start even with cross pairs that I wouldn't be following. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, nothing going on, right? This is just, I don't want to be caught in a range. I'm not attracted to cross pairs right now. In doing this analysis, I'm going to check them out just to either see something different or confirm that I don't want to be involved, right? Australia Swiss franc. Listen, if you're going to trade against the Swiss franc, I prefer trading against the Japanese yen. The two are tightly correlated. The only time that I take positions on pairs that include the Swiss franc personally is in a crisis, and it's in the direction of the Swiss franc, right? So you could see that there's lots of wicks over here. I don't look at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. I don't know. I do know. I much prefer trading the yen than over the franc. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. We've been talking about, I've just mentioned to you how the Australian dollar has been outperforming the New Zealand dollar. And here you could see over the past week, the Australian dollar greatly outperforming the New Zealand dollar. Now, I was able to see that or understand that without looking at a chart of the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. I understood that compared to how each of those was performing relative to every other currency pair. So interesting. Australian dollar, US dollar, that's a profit taking day. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, that's running beautiful. Let's take a look at that on the daily. All right, let's take a look at that. Here's this breakout over here. I don't know why I'm looking at. You can see it lagging a little bit to the pound Japanese yen. The pound Japanese yen coming into that resistance today. Nevertheless, just like the pound Japanese yen targeting that outer resistance over here on the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, it's running beautiful. It just looks beautiful. Is this a pair to be watching if you're not involved? Maybe, but right now you're just in no man's land, spiking up into resistance. You're just in no man's land today. Dylan, we'll get to the pound, the euro pound, in just a few more pairs, and then I'll take a look at it with you. So this is the euro Australian dollar. You can see the euro, by the way. Strong downtrend, big consolidation, broke out to the upside. I got involved, stopped out on that trade, right? Broke down over here, right? This was tricky. I stayed away. But what you're watching is then after the breakout of the range, right? You're just watching a breakdown, retest, resumption, broke out of here. But this is that resistance. I don't know. I don't like it, and I'm not attracted to the crosses right now. Euro, Canadian dollar. You can see that taking out that support. I don't like it at all. It's also sideways. Just look at that chart. Price is sideways for a year. I don't like sideways markets. I want to be involved in markets that could push multiple levels. Next target on the euro British pound is down into the support area over here, a little lower, right? Coming into that support, is that an area you take a good amount off the trade? If you're in from the line of hope, right, all the way up here, do you take 40% off over there? That seems more than reasonable, right? That seems more than reasonable. Take 40% off, continue to push your trade down. This could keep going. This could take out 2020 lows maybe, but not if you don't push the trade. But 40% off here, yeah, that seems good. What else? 845 likes. Thank you everyone for supporting the work. Thanks to everyone for being just a part of everything taking place here. It's so special to me every morning to know that I could get on here with all of you and share what we share. So just thank you. Huge smash of the like button for you all. Euro, Japanese yen. Interesting. Why is that interesting? You see that we're towards the top of this resistance over here? Let me draw that in. So that's interesting over there. This is horizontal, broken resistance, turn to support. I can clean up some of these lines so it's easier on my eyes to look at. Let me just focus on what's going on over here. All right. So, obviously, not interested in playing to the long side the euro over the Japanese yen. Why? Well, obviously, the British pound is more interesting. The Australian dollar is more interesting, right? The Canadian dollar versus the Japanese yen is interesting right now. Watching that trend line break. The euro is not, right? On the downside, would we see the Japanese yen lead versus the euro? Perhaps, but I can't imagine going long the Japanese yen over here. Trying to see what type of resistance we're into right now also, right? It's not just that line over here. We're into some resistance right now over here as well. Nevertheless, it's not something that I would trade at all. We're in an uptrend, and just trying to go back to where the Fed intervened over here. This is the where's the March low? So in this area over here, strong uptrend. I'm on the daily. That's what was throwing me off. I was on the wrong time frame. I was on the daily. I mean, it's a strong uptrend. I would not think of shorting it ever, but I also would not think of buying it. You got it. Absolutely, my pleasure. All right, euro, New Zealand dollar. Comments get distracting. I gotta come off them so I can focus in on the charts. Focus in on the charts over here. Euro, New Zealand dollar. I can't. The window, the chart is stuck overlaid. Let me just actually go like that. Boom. There we go. Just get rid of them all together. Here we go. Euro, New Zealand dollar. Right. You can see, by the way, we are pulled back into a bit of resistance in that strong downtrend. This was the beautiful work we did over here. Over here was the beautiful work that we did together over here. I'm staying away from this right now, though. This looks like it's resuming off. It's not clean. When I say it's not clean, like you get stuck in a trade that's just sideways over here for quite a while. But you could see that why it's consolidating sideways. It is into that resistance right now, trying to resume off. It's unattractive, and that's a cross pair. Again, just making note, cross pairs remain unattractive. Euro remains unattractive. Pound, Australian dollar. This is two strong pairs. I do not want to get involved in strength for strength, right? And by the way, it's kind of a tug of war. It's kind of equal. But pound, Australian dollar, stay away. We're looking for trending markets. I'm not going to trade this thing. It's too jumpy, but this is the pound, Canadian dollar. This is the triangle pattern, right? You can see now the breakout. You could see that retest, perfect retest, resuming off now. If it makes a new swing high, this could continue to run. And you could see that what's important here, though, is just for seeing that continued pound strength ever since the new year, ever since the Brexit deal. You could see that the pound continues to appreciate. Pound New Zealand dollar. So notice that while the pound Australian dollar, they're kind of like nose and nose. Notice the pound is making greater gains versus the New Zealand dollar. Again, notice how we pointed out that we are seeing the Australian dollar stronger than the New Zealand dollar, and you could see it relative to other pairs. Never coming into strong resistance over there. Above that resistance, is that something that might become attractive? Not really. I don't. Not for me. I'm just trying to see what else is going on over here. That looks beautiful. I don't know. What do you? I don't know. What do I think about that? What do I think about this? I don't know. I think I want to come back to it. That's what I think. I think I want to come back to it. There's no trade right now, right? That was a breakout resistance resumption. There was an entry right over here, but up here into resistance, there's definitely no trade. Break above this, maybe that might be some. Maybe I don't know. Another cross pair going sideways, right? Stay away from the cross pairs right now for me. But you could see also that this is into an area of support, right? Could we be making a resumption off that little area? Look, I don't know. It's not attractive. Let me just draw that up over here. All right, we'll focus over there. New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. I think that's it. I think I've came and I've seen what I need to see off of FX over there. Even the US dollar, Canadian dollar, as the dollar's going sideways, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I don't want to get caught up in that. Yep, that's FX. Felt like pushing through, doing some hard work over there. Let's see if it pays off later in the week. But very important to have that awareness that we just went through, understanding that just what the market is showing us, right? And there's been very like select trades happening on FX, whether it's the Australian dollar, US dollar, Australian dollar, Japanese yen, the euro, British pound, the pound, Japanese yen, and the pound, US dollar. But they've all been very, very, very clear and consistent trends. Excellent trades. What else? Let's see what's going on over here. We have Bitcoin slightly off, but what we're looking at on Bitcoin, I showed you on the daily starting this. You could see that on the daily time frame, Bitcoin's making a lower low, right, and a lower high, right? That's what's happening. The first indication that you want to see for Bitcoin to be resuming out of this is starting to make higher highs again on the daily. You have that resistance like that, right? We're in that tight little channel, but there's not much going on. Bitcoin, $47,700, looking good over here. And all of crypto is looking good. You saw alts on Sunday really coming off pretty heavily. There were a lot of people I saw on Twitter. I saw Alan. I saw also Brandon being like, alts are on sale. And they went in, and I saw them both accumulating to certain positions that they had been watching and waiting for. Really, really nice stuff. Someone talked about the Cardano, that 30% drop, right? Look over to there. By the way, just my words of caution towards Cardano. That's a 30% spike down over there, right? We've often talked about, well, Winthrop even mentioned earlier in the comments this morning, have those limit orders in. If you're interested in buying, right, Cardano versus the dollar, right, maybe continue to have 30%, 35%, whatever, 20%, whatever you think, limit orders in case you get these spikes down, which happens in markets that are a little less liquid. I prefer liquid markets. I prefer mature markets, right? Even if I thought silver was going to outperform in 2022 gold, silver is not something I would position into. I prefer the more liquid market over there. And Bitcoin over alts as well. Very important. All right, what are we at? Thanks for being here on President's Day, though. For those in the U.S. That are here on this holiday morning, right? Thanks for being here. I know for me, it's always a pleasure. I enjoy it so much. Let me go ahead and pop up these comments now, see what's going on with all of you as we've gone through everything. Good timing. I'm glad I did. Rex is saying that I have 30,000 and I want to get into Bitcoin. Should I dollar cost average or just get on the dip? Fully invested. By the way, love your work. All right, so Rex, the way that I'm unfolding this is that you're already fully invested into Bitcoin. It sounds like you have an additional $30,000 that you would like to continue to add. Like, at this point, over the next several months, are we looking at the fact that, we're over here and that we know we're targeting somewhere like in this sweet spot over here between after the first cycle peak and before the second cycle peak, right? That's where our exit's going to be. It's going to be somewhere between 350 and 500 days. I say 500 and 450 days, more or less, after the last halving. That's a significant amount of appreciation. What's a better investment, right? What else can I invest in right now that's going to provide a better, safer return, in my opinion, in your opinion? You're asking the question. It's not investment advice. I'm not going to tell you, when to buy. If you don't understand that, you're going to get wrecked. You have to make these choices and decisions for yourself. But I could look at the market and share my thoughts and opinions on it. That's all it is. Thoughts and opinions, right? For me right now, though, the risk remains on the upside. We have just come off a 30% drawdown on Bitcoin, right? Which, again, we were very clear. This strategy number 2, 3 ways to trade the Bitcoin bull market. If you haven't seen that video on the Bitcoin playlist on this channel, start there, and then you're going to want to watch a lot more. But everyone knew, and we also even put out that tweet over here, like this was a 30% drawdown. This is your opportunity right over there, right? Now, we're making a next leg up, Bitcoin into price discovery. At this point of the cycle, where I do not see a pullback coming over the next, let's call it like 45, 60 days, right? I personally think that we're going up towards 70,000. I think risk is onto the upside after pulling out of this pullback over here, understanding the price behavior of Bitcoin. There was one time in the last cycle where we had Bitcoin make a higher high, 2 times. Bitcoin made a higher high, pulled back 30%, only made a little high, and then came back down again for another big drawdown. One of these was 39%. This one was 34%. And then it happened again. Bitcoin makes that higher high, only makes a little higher high, and then comes back down. This was a massive 39% drawdown. By the way, that happened, though, over here, right? That happened over here at that point in the cycle. Could it happen again? Is it possible that from where we are today, after Bitcoin just making a higher, it could put in another 30% plus drawdown? What would that look like, right? You have a 39% drawdown into 30,000, right? So if your liquidation right now is at 28,000, does that seem safe? To me, that seems really safe. An understanding of something went wrong. Something's going wrong if Bitcoin comes, has a 39% drawdown here. That's not ideal, what we expect to happen. It could happen. It's within the realm of possibility, but something would not be right. I would be lightening up my position as we came that far down. Whether it was 32,000, 31,000, a little more at 30,000, and that $28,000 liquidation level would be dropping, right? So maybe as we came into 28,000 or 30,000, maybe my liquidation is down at 24,000. Do I think we're going to have a 50% drawdown on Bitcoin? I don't think so. Anything is possible. Be prepared. What I think is happening right now, or where I think that the risk is to the upside. I think the risk is if you think that that Bitcoin could have a 50% drawdown, then you don't understand Bitcoin from where it is right now and here. The same thing when Bitcoin was at 14,000, and I'm like, if you're looking for a pullback right here, right now, you don't understand where we are in the current cycle, and your timing is way off. Now, be prepared for anything. I saw during the crisis, during a liquidity crisis, I saw Bitcoin go down 60% in a short time. It could happen, but listen, where we are right now, I think the risk is to the upside. I'm always prepared, always mentally prepared for a 30% plus drawdown, but we just came off of one. At this point in the cycle, I think that 70,000 is our next stop. If I was telling my best friend who was like wanted to talk to his dad, I would say right now I would mark it in and expect a 30% drawdown at all times. The people that are always wanting to buy are always waiting for that pullback, right? Well, we just had the pullback. It was over here. Could you wait to the next pullback? Could you wait for the next 30% pullback? It's always a safer entry, safer in the fact that your risk to the downside is being further limited. However, we might not get that 30% drawdown for a while. It might not be until we come into 70,000. It might not be until we come into 100,000, right? And what is off of $70,000? What's a 30% drawdown? That takes us down to $50,000, 49,000, which is higher than you are right now. Which is anyway. That's my opinion. Would I lighten my position on Ethereum? I mean, look, if you're asking questions like this, I do recommend going to the Bitcoin playlist and watching the video on Ethereum price target for this alt season, as well as other altcoins where they're going to peak out. Ethereum's into price discovery right now at $1,800. We have a lot of time to run in this bull market over here. It's still early. And it's still early that Bitcoin right now at $48,000, I believe, is trading cheaper than the coming bear market low of Bitcoin will be. That, therefore, is cheap Bitcoin. Now, as Bitcoin comes into, like, let's say $140,000, is it still cheap? That's, $140,000 Bitcoin. Is that cheap? Do I think that the bear market low is going to be under that? Yes. Do I think that if you have the possibility of perhaps making a 100% return in maybe, let's call it, within weeks or several weeks, is that, is there another asset that you would prefer to be invested in, or even putting money to work at that point in time? Those are things that you have to consider, you know? Yeah, Mark Cuban really, is Mark Cuban. A couple of things about Mark Cuban. I mean, he really doesn't understand and has never understood Bitcoin, right? He missed Bitcoin and he's still on the wrong side of the trade when it comes to Bitcoin, right? When Mark says that he likes Ethereum, well, what does that mean? Like, why would I listen to Mark Cuban when it comes to cryptocurrency, right? Have you ever heard about him talk about? It was recently, a couple of years ago or a year ago, talking about the max supply of Bitcoin and getting it wrong. I mean, come on. How does someone get the max supply of Bitcoin wrong? Mark is invested in Aave, by the way. And you'll hear him in any interview he does now pumping Aave without disclosing that he's invested into it. Mark Cuban, whatever. It's Mark Cuban, right? Who cares what Mark Cuban thinks about Ethereum or anything else, right? And Mark Cuban does like to, like, whatever's popular. Like, he gave his opinion about a game stocks the other day, right? About Wall Street bets. Mark doing the rounds talking about Wall Street bets, and like his advice is terrible. What did Mark do? Did he put the yellow pages online or something like that? Right? Is that what he did before he did the live streaming service for sports? I mean, whatever. So, where are we today? No, but it is, because the thing is that people listen to people like Mark Cuban, the Mark Cubans of the world. People will hear him then talk about Bitcoin and think that they know something, and they'll listen. And he's already, if you don't listen to people. Oh, some investment bank, they want to put like X and X money towards Bitcoin. Who cares? They didn't understand the trade. I listened to those that understood it 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and talked about what would be happening this very day. Right? Watch this Max Kaiser, and don't listen to Mark Cuban. Listen to Max Kaiser. Where watch what Max talks about with Preston Fish over here. If you want to understand the central banking system, if you want to understand what's happening with money and what Bitcoin is, and because it's been a consistent message for many, 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 many years, right? These are the people that are able to gameplay what's happening going forward and have been correct. Mark is not one of those people. Mark is, I missed Bitcoin. Mark is like, I'm just going to be one of the first, a VC play into Aave and then pump it, making jokes that, I also like sushi, knowing that sushi's garbage, covering himself. Anyway, it is a crisis, because people hear people speak and they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, the milkshake. Oh, this guy sounds smart. Let me listen to him. And then they get wrecked. And it's not okay. It's not okay. So listen, financial, let's call it intelligence, is something that takes a lot of time to develop. And once you do develop that for your own, when you're watching other people speak about the markets, you'll be able to understand whether or not they understand them or not. And if you don't understand the markets and you listen to people speak about things you don't understand, you're gonna be like, oh, they sound smart. They might not know what they're talking about. You gotta be careful. So, yeah, hold on, hold on one second. I gotta, sometimes there's, when it comes to spamming, sometimes there's only no warning. You gotta go. Gene, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. Each and every one of you, thank you. The moderator, Stefano, right? Thank you so much for the value that you add, making this just. Wes, everybody, thank you. Thank you so much. Grateful for that. Big smash to the like button for the moderators who over the last several weeks have really made this a much better experience for everyone, protecting the community from the scammers, protecting it from the spam. Thank you for that. All right. Yeah, George, there's going to be lots of big boys eating up. It doesn't matter, right? It's big. It's the market. See, the markets are like, it's just us versus the markets. Don't worry about who the other players are or anything like that. We just got to do what we do, right? It's a good question. Why I would not? I mean, I'm invested in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only trade that matters. Been clear and consistent on why, right? Now, listen, XMR, I like Monero. I like the use case for Monero. I question about whether one day or not it will be cracked or not, right? The IRS paid two $600,000 or $800,000 bounties for people to try to crack that. Transactions you're doing on Monero today might not be private tomorrow. Transactions you do on Bitcoin are not private. That's a public ledger, right? Do we have a right to privacy? Absolutely, right? Would I love for more privacy features to be added to Bitcoin in the future? Of course. And just for the fact that privacy is a right. Edward Snowden spoke at the 2019 Bitcoin conference in San Francisco. Absolute fire. You should look up that video, watch that video. You should watch Snowden the movie, right? I deleted Facebook simply because, not because I was hiding something, but for my right to privacy. So what else? Look, I didn't see your tweet, brother. I didn't see your tweet. If I see it later and it's something that should be brought to the attention of the community, of course I will. Absolutely. Absolutely. As I do always, but I haven't seen the tweet or anything like that. Listen, there's some spamming going on. I don't even want to say the words. Let me just see if I could find that and get rid of that. There you go. Gone. Yeah. Be careful about certain projects. Be very careful about certain projects and altcoins. Just be very, very, very careful. That's all I have to say. So, yeah. Thank you, brother. Heath, I didn't get a chance to see your video. I'm going to watch it this morning, the weekly Forex forecast video that you put out yesterday. I saw it come through. Definitely looking forward to that. Jordan, you said that alts will definitely outperform Bitcoin by a lot. Why not trade altcoins? Yeah, Bobby. So, I mean, listen, everyone has their own different investment objectives, right? For sure. If I was younger, right, there are a lot of people who are like, listen, Jordan, I'm invested in altcoins because it's like I don't know if they call it like a hobby or like a passion where they enjoy it and that's really one of the debate. But their allocation to altcoins is high. It's not low. Like in my mind, in my opinion, if you were doing that, your allocation should be really small. I don't know what you'd want to call it. It would depend on a lot of factors, but let's call it 10%, And if you wanted to kind of like follow that market and be really about, that's fine. I'm about the trade that matters, right? I set forth understanding the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin, understanding that companies like MicroStrategy would put $1.3 billion or Tesla would put $1.5 billion behind something that they believe they could put that type of money behind. That's not going to happen in altcoins. It's speculation, right? And as much as all investing is speculating, like I'm not here to speculate as far as like to gamble. I'm here to accomplish like very real goals, right? And to do that, for me, it's if you could find out any instrument in the world that is more attractive than Bitcoin lightly leveraged, please let me know. That I would be interested. I've looked around. I've crunched the numbers. I've done the math. The whole reason any altcoin right now is appreciating in value at this particular time was because 6 months after the halving, Bitcoin was trading at new all-time highs. And then people are like, oh, I missed Bitcoin, Mark Cuban. Let me get into like an altcoin, Aave, and then pump it, right? So that I could buy more Bitcoin, right? So, understanding that Bitcoin and understanding the financial system, right? Are we going to see a nation state take a position Look, it could happen in Ethereum. It really could happen. And the more and more money that comes into Ethereum over this year, the more people that are attracted to it. First, you're going to see high net worth individuals. We already have Grayscale buying massive amounts of Ethereum. That's coming from institutions. I've been supportive of Ethereum since day one and everything that's being built upon it. Its network effects, which are greater than Cardano. Cardano may be better than Ethereum, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be as successful. And maybe it will be. And if you're holding a position and it is, yeah, that's like a lotto ticket, type deal perhaps. The odds of that happening are a lot less than when I told you when Bitcoin was trading at $7,000 that by December it would be trading at 18,000 and that by the peak of this bull cycle it would be trading at $160,000. A lot of people, when I said $160,000 at that time, they thought that was way too high and crazy. I don't think anyone thinks that anymore. Bitcoin's trading just under $50,000. That's only a 3x from here. I don't think anyone thinks that anymore. But just several months ago, people thought that was crazy. And a lot of people that are listening to me speak right now are included, right? Because they were interested in like whatever commodity or whatever, right? Copper up 89%. So a lot of people didn't believe that, and everyone believes it now. And I've said, going back, I don't remember when I said it. I think it was early December. I said, I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. Bitcoin's going much higher than $160,000. Still, if it reaches 140, all mission accomplished. All my goals have been met for what I wanted to do this bull cycle. However, I'm going to push it to the top, right? And if I could get another 100% return off of that, you have no idea what that's going to equal in those dollars. Everyone's trying to get those dollars, but you should be trying to get Bitcoin. And the only reason that I'll sell Bitcoin at the top over here at the cycle is knowing that we're headed for a bear market phase, because I know when that low is going to be 15 months to the next halving. I know when that cycle low is going to be after capitulation. And I know that going ahead, and first of all, and I talked about last Thursday, what I'll be investing in and why. I talked about that what's going on in altcoins during that particular time. I talked about the possibilities, what makes the most sense. I talked about what has the greatest potential for these 12 months to clean up. This is a big pocket. This is a big pocket. This is a big pocket. They come right after each other. This is only 12 months, 1 year, right? Because I know after this 12-month period and after I buy back in, and then we go on next cycle 4 years from today, what prices are we going to be looking at? I don't know yet. I haven't done the math. I don't know. Are we going to be overtaking the market cap of gold? I think so. I think that's where we're headed. That's my next goal, right? That's what I'm looking at. I think that going ahead and playing this cycle out to perfection, playing this bear market out to perfection, and then accumulating in here, that could create generational wealth for anyone listening if they're smart about what they do. Now, there are a lot of people who still can't do it, who still can't pull the trigger on Bitcoin. They don't understand it. You have all this time to be watching all different podcasts. This is just one. I point out any important one that we come across, right? Any important one that I feel is important, I point it out to you on a regular basis. You could slowly be educating yourself, getting ready. It's not too late. It's still early. Thank you. It is. And a lot of lives, a lot of people, a lot of us, CTM, a lot of lives have already been changed, and it's so early, it's ridiculous. The things that what the central banksters are doing is dangerous. They are causing the greatest inequality of our lifetime. There are people right now that are suffering. There are people right now, which a year and a half ago had good livelihoods, that no longer are able to feed their family. People with children, sons and daughters. It is tough out there, and it's going to be a lot tougher in the years ahead, because what the central banksters are doing is absolutely diabolical. It's diabolical. It's evil. There are going to be hungry people out there, people who need food, people who need education. Who's going to be there for them? I know that I'm going to be, and I know that those of you that are CTM to the core are going to be there. That's beautiful. That's powerful. That's what we do here. That's what we've been doing, and that's what we continue to do. So yeah, I mean, no, I mean, yeah, the question is, Jordan, will alts be worthwhile investment during the bear market post the Bitcoin pump, right? Bitcoin's going to be in a bubble. Bitcoin is not a bubble right now. Bitcoin is going to be in a massive bubble several months from now. And when it is, I'm going to be jumping out. Boom, right? Just as I jumped in at the bottom, Bitcoin's got whatever. If you listen to people, it could be very dangerous without doing your own research and understanding what's going on. But also going to get obliterated versus Bitcoin during the bear market. Alts are a very bad idea, whether it's whatever it is, each and every one, in my opinion. Are we going to find any alt that outperforms Bitcoin during the bull market, the bear market? Yeah. Will there be like a Binance? Yeah. Do you know which one it is now? No. Right? Are you gonna make generational wealth by trying to pick the next Binance that outperforms Bitcoin during the bull market? Good luck. Good luck. There are things that I go with clarity and what has the highest probability, right? So the markets are not crashing, right? Remember people 2 weeks ago saying, "Oh, there's going to be an insolvency event. The markets are going to crash." Like, no, when the markets are crashing, it's so obvious that all you need to do is jump into the right assets and make a killing, right? Anyway. So I'm just reading a couple of comments. Yeah, that was not for me. That's spam. If you receive, there's an example right over here. Since I have it up, let me show you. Hold on. This is from Conquer Trading and Investment at gmail.com. First of all, I would not use Gmail. Second of all, I will never email you soliciting you for investment or anything like that, right? I want to thank you all for the supportive comments, for hitting the like button and saying subscribe to my channel. I would also like to share with you a completely free, exceptional investing resource that I found to be very helpful and powerful when investing in cryptocurrency. You get to make up to 1% daily for holding it. I would never solicit you through an email or through a YouTube comment. If we're talking about something, we're doing it live on the live stream. Be very careful out there. If someone is commenting as Conquer Trading and Investing, right? I'm not sharing my WhatsApp phone number with you. We're using WhatsApp. Huge privacy violation, right? Dude, listen, I'm not going to do that. Be very careful. You could always click on the link and check how many subscribers they have. If it's comments in YouTube, it's not me. It's not me. Andre, thank you, brother. Thank you very much for being, Andre killed Tesla in 2020. He was on the best trade of 2020. He did that all on his own. Yeah, Winthrop, that's not me. I'm so sorry about that. And we do not only myself, but the Stefano, Wes, everyone has been extraordinarily helpful. George, extraordinarily helpful in removing all that spam and comments. So Seth is like, which email do I recommend? Like, that's not for this show, right? Like, you could go ahead and you got to do your own. Asking questions is beautiful, Seth, because that's how you learn. But you also got to, like, for certain questions that you don't need someone, you could go ahead and do that, on your own. Yeah, Luke, good trade, brother. Good trade, Luke. That's a great question, Stefan. This is a great question by Stefan. He's asking, so how many more cycles of Bitcoin do we participate in? 1, maybe 3? And that's the question of all questions. We don't have the answer to that, and that's an ongoing situation. That's what makes it tough. As you get towards the top of this cycle, there are people who are definitely going to be like, this time is different. This is a super cycle. Bitcoin's going to $1 million. And there are going to be the majority of people who understand Bitcoin are going to hold. And is there anything wrong with holding, right? Is there anything wrong with holding Bitcoin at whatever price you're holding it. If you're holding Bitcoin at $9,000, right? Could you hold it through the market type and market top and then, be up something like 7x at the bear market low and then do it again? Yeah, you could do that. I don't see why you would want to do that. If you think the odds of us having a super cycle are X percent, hold that much percent of Bitcoin, I'll hold 5, maybe 7%, right? But I don't think that, I think we're going to have other cycles. I think very strongly we're going to have other cycles. After Bitcoin next cycle overtakes the market cap of gold, do I think that will be when we have the super cycle? Who knows what's going to be happening 4 years from now? 4 years from now, will there be central banks that have already publicly announced having Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Will the Swiss National Bank no longer be buying stocks, but be buying Bitcoin with money they're printing? And if they do that, will then my perception of how many more cycles we have change? Absolutely. There's no question about it. It's an ongoing, evolving situation. But I do believe that we're going to have a cycle peak here. I believe that we're going to have a bear market here. And rather trying to distinguish, is it going to be a 60% pullback or is it going to be another 85, 84% pullback? I know that 15 months to the next halving, that's my cycle low. Whatever the pullback was, that's where I need to reposition myself in and get ready here to ride this out to the upside. I don't know, but I do strongly feel we have this bull market phase, a coming bear market phase, and then a coming another opportunity to be in before the halving and do the next bull market phase that's coming up after that. And if anyone here that is listening right now, even if you have 0 Bitcoin allocation today, is able to get behind that trade and understand it and position themselves accordingly, they will be able to create generational wealth in that time if they do it correctly. Now, maybe others will just pay off their mortgage or take many years off their mortgage. Okay. But maybe some will be able to pay for, higher education for their kids. Good. I mean, those are all great. I don't think those, I think that you could do more. I think you could do a lot more. But if you're, I'm not really that confident in my investment abilities, okay, then go small. You don't even need to use any leverage whatsoever to be able to accomplish big and important things. And that's why I say that, yeah, it'll be a correction. To what degree it will be, I don't know. I know when it'll begin. I know when it will end. That's awesome, Scar. Thank you for making those choices and decisions yourself by going, and I'm glad that any information shared here was able to help form what it has. Jeffrey, Friday's session was absolute fire, as was last Thursday's. There was a lot this past week. So it's a good question, Winthrop, and that's the main. But and you already see miners beginning to make a good amount of money off of fees. They'll be making all of their money for securing the network off of fees. So that's something that's been thought through, game played out well in advance, and you already see that transition happening right now, Winthrop. Now, other blockchains, I don't know, right? Because Bitcoin's proof of work, right? I don't know how it doesn't even matter how Ethereum's going to work, whether or not all of a sudden we're going to see these high gas fees contributing to supply being burned. And Bitcoin is Bitcoin. We're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about the trade that matters here. So I think that's good. It was a good Monday session. We got a lot covered. We got gold to silver, Anthony. Let me first check out what's going on gold Bitcoin. Right? And we see what's gold though. Gold is down just slightly off today, while silver's up. We've been very clear about what happens at this particular point. When I say this particular point, I'm talking about the Bitcoin cycle. I'm talking about after the Fed has injected massive amounts of QE coming off a liquidation event, a liquidity event, as we saw in 2008, right? And same thing here. This is probably one of the easier trades someone can make this year, gold Bitcoin, in my opinion. What about gold to silver? Same thing in silver's direction. Been very clear and consistent about that signal for many, ever since the crisis. right? And here you can see over here a breakdown of support, flip to resistance, resuming off now, gold versus silver over here. And that's something else that will continue this way for I believe, quite a while. I personally believe for at least another couple of years. Could be longer. I have no idea, but I'm not even trying at this point to even foresee, and I've been very consistent about that when it came to gold and Bitcoin. I mean, gold and silver, right? 2 or 3 years, we'll possibly see the beginnings of real growth, and then that trade will no longer be the trade to be involved in. Right now, it is. Anyway, that's a mouthful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and for sharing in this session. So I'm sorry. This is such a good question. Such a good question. Look, I subscribe to the cycle theory. I see what you're saying, but Bitcoin's never going to do what. Listen, just don't think that that we share in here is the consensus. It's absolutely not the consensus. Even though what we're very let's say strong in our signal, understand what we're looking. That's not the norm. If you take right now a dozen Bitcoin developers, people who develop on the Bitcoin blockchain, and ask them their price targets for this coming bull market, they're going to be so varying. It's ridiculous, in a huge range. Very few people understand with the clarity that we do. That's what we do, and that's why we do it the best. There are many, many people, and you will see at the top of the bull market cycle, the consensus is this time is different. We're going into a super cycle. That's going to be the consensus. Watch. Yeah, so just a couple of things before we get off over here. And, there's a question about if the stock market crashes again, if the stock market falls. Don't forget, Signal, there's $315 billion monthly from the G10 and QE purchases in 2021. The massive amount of liquidity out there is causing stocks to go up, new all-time highs, right? We were very clear ever since QE that QE is uber asset inflationary, right? And stocks go up. That's what's happening right now. We're not seeing stocks crash. If stocks crash, why Bitcoin? If there's a liquidity event, if there's like we saw last time, we saw one when in 2020, in February and March. That was happening. It was starting in September of 2019 when you started seeing problems in the repo market, when you started seeing shortages of dollars. That just didn't happen in a blink. We were well aware of every. I text my family back in September of 2019, letting them know the amount of money the Fed was spending daily in overnight repo purchases and how there was a problem again. We will know if we're not seeing any signs of any type of liquidity problems in the markets at all right now. You can't look for the black swan to happen, right? You can't look for it to happen. So, Nick, we did that last Thursday in the CTM live trading session, right? We talked about what I'm looking at the top of the cycle, what assets I'm going to be positioning into, and why. It's an absolute must. I saw the comments all week. It's absolutely extraordinary. You have access to that inside the Conquering the Markets trading program, as well as how to trade Bitcoin nightly leverage, as well as how to push your winners, as well as a year's worth of live training sessions. It's absolute gold. Everyone, thank you. Have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon. The Fed have Janet Yellen Fed to buy stocks before she became the U.S. Treasury Secretary on the inside right now, right? How difficult will that be for them? I don't think we're going to see the Fed need to buy stocks anytime soon. We'll see. Next crisis, we'll see what happens. Everyone, thank you. Happy Monday. Have a beautiful day.